Hello! Today we're going to be talking about 5 things parents can do to help their children thrive and excel in school. Number 1, focus on strategy. When helping your kids do better in school, rather than telling them how they can solve things, you might talk to them about how they can figure out how to do well by themselves. For example, they might want to use a planner. They might want to study with friends. Help them figure out how they can prepare better for school, but let them choose, because part of growing up successfully is becoming independent. Also, you might talk to them about how do they study. I had a friend in college. Her name was Elaine. She was a straight C student, but she took excellent notes. I was a very good student, but I hated taking notes, so I asked Elaine if I could borrow her notes to study from them. She always said yes, except when we were senior students, and she said I have to study from my notes as well. And I said, well, let's study together. And I noticed she studied by memorizing everything. And I never had a great memory, so I couldn't learn by memorizing. So instead, I tried to figure out what things meant. I tried to figure out formulas, how they were derived. And I showed Elaine how I did that. And she studied that way, and suddenly she became a straight A student as well. She said, if only I knew how to study before this time, I would have gotten much better grades in college. So one way you can help your children do better in school is help them figure out how to study better. Number 2, encourage planning and realistic expectations. I can't tell you how many children I met who said, I want to become a professional baseball player, but I don't want to practice. I want to get straight A's, but I don't want to do my homework. Obviously, it's not realistic. For some teens, they think they can get there anyway. The truth is, to get something done, people have to work at it. And sometimes, if a project is very large, children become overwhelmed. You can help them by planning how they will do it. Do it a bit at a time. Look at what's left to do, and then decide what's most important to complete at this time. Planning goes a long way in helping kids become better students. A special note about high achievers. High achievers set high goals, and they work really hard. And unfortunately, some of them think if they can only be happy with themselves when they achieve their high goal. And oftentimes, the goals are so high they never quite make it, so they turn out to become unhappy and displeased with themselves. Instead, you want to teach your high-achieving student to celebrate progress towards the goal. This is also part of planning how to move forward. Number 3, instead of assigning tools, offer options. Like we talked earlier, it's really important for children to be invested in learning for themselves. Parents need to understand that when children become teens, their role as parents should switch from being an enforcer to a supporter. A younger child does what they're told, but a teenager, when you tell them what to do, they tend to do the opposite. So it's much more important to let teens decide what options they want to choose to study better. If they make a choice that you as a parent think is not a great choice, go ahead, let them do it anyway. Sometimes they'll find out the hard way that this is the right way or the wrong way to study, and by letting them make the choice, you are encouraging them to become more independent. Number 4, make room for mistakes. Some children are so afraid of making mistakes that they become perfectionistic. And I have to explain to them, perfectionism actually yields a poor result. When you try to be perfect, it's very difficult to do so. In fact, almost impossible. And if you spend all your time trying to achieve perfection, you don't have a lot of time to do other things. I had a colleague once, a physician, who was a perfectionistic doctor. And as part of being a doctor, we needed to write medical papers. And she worked on one paper for 10 years because she wanted to make it perfect. In that same time frame, I wrote 50 papers. None of them were perfect, but I published them, and a lot of people read them. Finally, her paper came out. It was really nice. Few people read it, and it did not have much impact. So perfectionism prevents people from achieving the best of themselves. Mistakes, on the other hand, are the way we learn. Consumer advocate Ralph Nader said, your best teacher is your last mistake. When you make mistakes, you learn from them, and then you do better. So really, mistakes aren't a way of failing, it's a way of learning. I tell athletes, if you are a superstar athlete and hit 1,000 and always win, go to a better league, because you need to try harder, make mistakes, and learn from that. Sometimes parents become frustrated when their children make mistakes. especially when they make the same kind of mistake over and over again. I remind children and their parents to remain calm and patient. When a toddler learns to walk, they trip and fall, they get up, they trip and fall, they get up, they trip and fall and get up. Finally, they learn to walk. Each time they fall down, their brain learns, oh, I can't walk that way. Falling down is part of the learning process. This is true also for your older child and teenager. Making mistakes is part of the learning process. Allow this to occur and be happy when they learn. Be patient and supportive. Number 5, celebrate achievements. Children like to be acknowledged when they do well. When I was in middle school, my father rewarded me with a book each time I received an A. I could get any book I wanted, even about mad comics, which weren't especially educational, but he let me get them. It's so important to acknowledge your children because this makes them want to do even better. When children are doing something long term, it's also important to celebrate small achievements towards that goal. That's a great way of helping children overcome procrastination when they get rewarded for small progress towards a large project. Sometimes I ask children to tell me how they would like to be rewarded. A cookie, a Pokemon card if they're younger, or a video game if they're older for large achievements. Each reward helps the child feel more acknowledged, but sometimes the reward can be as simple as, good job, I appreciate you. Thank you for your attention today. I hope this helps your child thrive and excel in school.